Tell me if this sounds familiar. You just landed in a new city, it's early, and your training plan says 7 miles, but you have no idea where to go. Do you risk it and dodge traffic along the main road and hope that sidewalk doesn't just vanish halfway through? Or do you scrap your run altogether, hang out by the hotel pool, and beat yourself up the rest of the day because you missed your run? I used to stress every time I traveled, especially while training. But after running through national parks, random cities, and questionable neighborhoods, and ending up in way too many situations like this, I've learned a better way. What's up, everyone? I'm Kyle, and I'm the Travel Runner, and today I'm showing you exactly how I plan my runs when I travel. Everything from the exact apps I use, how I choose where to stay, how I scout my runs, and all the little things that ultimately make a big difference when you're in a new place. So let's start with the backbone of my entire planning process, and that's my go-to apps. When I'm planning my runs for travel, it realistically comes down to 3 apps. None of them are sponsored, they're just the apps that I keep coming back to trip after trip, and they've saved me from way too many of those mornings where I'm trying to figure out where the hell to run. And I'll show you how to use them together in the next section, but for now, I just wanted to introduce them real quick. First up, Strava. I'll give kudos, post my runs, hop in a challenge here and there, the usual stuff that most runners do on Strava. But when I travel, I do use it a bit differently. The global heat map is the real gem. The darker the blue, the more people run there. So I've found some of my absolute best runs this way. Hidden paths, local loops, even ended up running with locals probably wondering how this guy even find this spot. You don't get that kind of insight from a blog post. You get it from 200 people logging the same beautiful loop on a Wednesday morning and then looking at Strava's heat map to plan your run there as well. Next up is All Trails. I use it when I'm looking for actual trail runs. Anything with elevation, in parks, or realistically anything that's dirt and not pavement. I'll filter the different routes by length, elevation, and difficulty, but really it's all about the photos and reviews that I'm primarily looking at. The photos tell you everything the stats don't. Is it muddy, rocky, paved? Can you wear road shoes? Or are you asking for a twisted ankle and a regret spiral at mile 3? I usually save a few trail options depending on the trip for when I'm actually on the ground, and I'll dig into how I choose those trails later. But the last app is Airbnb. And realistically, this one's just as important as the other two because where you stay, it can change everything. I've had stays where I thought I was near trails, only to realize they were 7 miles away and I had no car. Or I'd plan to run from my front door and bam, no sidewalks, just traffic, and now I'm running in circles through side streets just trying to hit my mileage. Now I build my runs into the trip, not the other way around. And I've stayed in places like Zion, Mount Rainier, and San Jose, Costa Rica, which had a park right down the road and made for perfect running. So Airbnb isn't a bonus app, it's one of the foundational apps right there next to Strava and All Trails. Those are the apps I use. Strava, All Trails, and Airbnb. And they help me find and explore what's out there and what's runnable. And if you want all of that, plus a few tips that I didn't include, I have an entire free running kit that's linked in the description that goes way more in depth than I'm going to in this video. So check that out. But the tools are ultimately just one part of it. And in the next section, I'm going to show you how I put it all together, how I use these 3 apps together to make sure I have the best runcation I can. Every trip starts a little bit differently. A conference, a family visit, a city my fiance and I have wanted to visit for a while, where sometimes we know the place and we know the running is incredible. But either way, the goal is the same at the end of the day. How do I plan the perfect runcation without wasting half my time figuring out where to go once I'm there? The first thing I do is open up Strava and check the heat map. Trails if I can, but if it's a city, I'm looking for parks, waterfronts, or anything that makes it clear runners actually go there. The good running zones usually stand out. Long, uninterrupted blue lines, clusters of green space, or loops that runners clearly flock to. I'm not mapping out exact routes yet, I'm just getting a feel for where the good running happens so I know where to focus everything else. Once I've spotted the best running zones, I'll jump into Airbnb and try to find a place right there. Ideally walking distance from the trails or loops I saw earlier on Strava. I've learned the hard way, if you don't think about this, you could end up 25 minutes from the nearest run with no car and no safe sidewalks. And that's a fast way to waste half your day and kill your running vibe. Ideally, I want to roll out of bed, lace up, and get moving, not go on a transportation scavenger hunt. Once I've got a general location locked in, I'll start saving trails that match what I'm looking for. Whether that's big climbs, scenic loops, or runnable elevation if I'm in the middle of a training cycle. If it's a longer trip, I try to mix it up. One longer effort, a mellow day or two, something technical if I'm feeling it. And if my fiance is joining me, we'll adjust the list together. Different trail grades, effort levels, maybe tack on a waterfall or some viewpoint if we can. The goal isn't just to run, it's to run to the best of what that place has to offer as well. I mean, I want to explore the place when I'm there also, not just run for the sake of running. Now, this trip's really starting to come together and we're getting everything rounded up. The trails, the area we're staying, where to eat. So now, ideally you have a place to put all this, and I found that a Google Sheet or a Microsoft Excel sheet isn't always the best option. So for a while, my fiance and I kind of just bounced things back between Apple Notes, Sheets, different things like that. But then we found an app called Wanderlog, which has actually taken over for what we use the majority of the time. It's basically our planning board, except less chaotic and more tappable. So we'll dump in saved trails, restaurants, shops, and then start grouping them into potential days or areas. You could do this in Notes or a shared doc too if you want, but Wanderlog just makes it easier to visualize and also rearrange, and it has a little map that kind of shows the areas where you're going, so that makes it a nice visual aspect. We actually use this system to plan a full 3-month road trip out west. We started in Ohio, hit South Dakota, Yellowstone, Glacier, Mount Rainier, Redwoods, over a dozen national parks. And for each stop, we dropped in trail options that we could hit, places to eat or restock, and we built out our day-by-day plans all in Wanderlog. I have to give most of the credit to my fiance. She's the one that did the majority of this. And that was nice because she's a planning machine. Most of the time, she already had a solid food spot pinned after a long run or travel day, so we didn't have to do a ton of searching most of the time. If it wasn't locked in, we could always pivot, but it made a huge difference having something preloaded. And same with meals. If we were planning to cook, we drop in a grocery store and add our meals into the notes so we knew what we needed and when. And that's why we always make sure an Airbnb has a small kitchen or at least some basic tools that you can use so that you can eat at home as well and not have to splurge and eat out all the time. So this all helped us eat better, run better, and waste way less time figuring things out on the fly. And when you're balancing long drives, trail runs, and limited Wi-Fi, well, that kind of head start makes all the difference. So that's the system. It's not just about finding a few scattered running routes. It's realistically about planning your entire trip around running and these running routes. So that way in the morning, I'm not having to sit there and Google running routes near me or anything like that. I just wake up, lace up, and I go. So in the next section, I'm actually going to share a few tips so that you can use this process and take it even further and make your trip safer, better, and overall just a more pleasant experience. All right, so you planned the trip, you got your routes, you know where you're staying. Now it's time to make sure those runs actually happen and don't just stay in your Notes app or Wanderlog. Here are the rules I follow when I'm traveling. First, run in daylight. It's safer, it's easier to spot trailheads, and if something goes wrong, you're not figuring it out by phone light or by a headlamp. Also, save your maps offline. Strava, AllTrails, Google Maps, whatever you're using, hit download before you lose signal mid-run. Also, if you have a watch that supports a GPX file, that is an excellent option. If that fails, screenshot your route. Even if you've got service, you don't want to be mid-stride swiping between apps trying to remember if it was a left or maybe a right or wherever to go. Just screenshot it, have a nice little picture that you can follow and reference when needed. Start close to your stay when you first get there. If it's your first run, keep it nearby. Get a feel for the terrain, the traffic, and what kind of sidewalk the city thinks is acceptable. If you want to, take a rest day and explore on foot or take a tour. This is a great way to get a feel for your area or where you're going so that you know where you're running before you actually head out and get lost in the middle of a new city. Try to find loops over out and backs. Especially if you're unsure of the area, it's easier to bail, adjust, or reroute without getting stranded 6 miles out and having to just turn around. Also, feel free to ask locals, baristas, hotel staff, running store clerks. Most are happy to give you their favorite loop and share some running related information with you if you show interest. And last, of course, check socials. Local running clubs, Facebook groups, these are all gold. I know people who have found full group runs just by posting a quick, hey, I'm in town on Instagram or Facebook or whatever your chosen social is. So don't be afraid. Runners are social people. They'll love to meet up. It doesn't take much to plan smart, but it can make or break your run. So if you've got your own traveling tip, feel free to share it in the comments. I'd love to share with me and with other runners. So that's how I do it. Strava, AllTrails, and Airbnb. plus a little map stalking, a little snack planning, and having running routes that actually make sense once I'm on the ground. You don't have to overthink it. You realistically just have to think about it at all, and that's what makes the biggest difference. So if this helped or it sparked an idea for your next running trip, drop a like, leave a comment, and be sure to subscribe. I'll have plenty more coming like this soon. And be sure to check out my other videos where I talk about different national parks and different running while traveling that can help people exactly like you. But I appreciate you all watching, and until next time, run fast, travel slow.